Welcome, everyone. Very nice that you are joining us in this session on what are the social, emotional, motivational, and metacognitive factors needed for children to thrive in school. So as you may have seen in the abstract, this session is organized by our program within Learn on educational neuroscience, brain learning and development. And in this program, we explore how developmental and biological perspectives help us to understand children's learning and behavior in educational contexts. So in this session, we have 3 presentations with some very interesting recent studies within our program concerning the intra and interpersonal factors that provide supportive and less supportive conditions for children's learning, and also important for supporting children's thriving in school. So I will only very briefly introduce the session, and then of course the room is for the speakers. So I wanted to very briefly take this opportunity to bring a new Unesco report under your attention, because I think it provides a very nice and fitting landscape for the current session. So this report was released only 2 days ago in Paris, and I have been co-chairing this project. And it's a very large-scale interdisciplinary and global project in which more than 300 experts from 45 countries have combined forces to assess the current state of knowledge on education and learning, with the aim to provide a scientific basis for UNESCO's more visionary Futures of Education initiative. So all the different findings and messages and recommendations are available on this for free download on this website. I can also paste it in the chat if you're interested. But to very briefly sum up a couple of the findings, because as I mentioned, they really align very well with the current session. So a very clear finding throughout all the different working groups in this report is that every learner is so different, right? Every learner learns very differently because they're all during development have a unique interaction between their internal factors like their neurobiology and the context, their like direct and more macro context in which they grow up. And this also emphasizes that learning is in essence really is also a social and emotional process, so that this aspect of learning is really very important. So that a cognitive emotional approach is very important in education. And zooming out on where this essentially comes from is that in the report we also conclude that a stronger emphasis is needed in education on children's flourishing and social emotional development, and nourishing this in school is very important to reach that as an outcome in school. So if you're interested to read more about this, you can go to this website where everything is now available. But now I won't keep the time and attention away from the speakers. So what we will hear today is 3 talks. One is by Simona Sankalaite from Leuven, and she will present a recent work which she did also in collaboration with Mariette Huizinga on strengthening executive function and self-regulation through teacher-student interaction in young children, so in preschool and primary school children. And then we will have a talk by Ilona Benneker, who is a PhD student at the VU. And she will talk about a recent study on school burnout and autonomous motivation during COVID related home-based learning. And then the last speaker is Nikki Lee, also from the VU, and she will talk about the influence of peers in learning and education. So why peers matter, influences on adolescent social, emotional, and cognitive development. And after each individual talk, we will have time for a couple of clarification questions. And you can use the chat or the raise hand function. I'll keep an eye on it. And if you have more like substantial questions, I will ask you to save those for the general discussion, because we will have some time for that in the end of the session.